Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Doctor Who episode Dot and Bubble from Season 1 of Doctor Who with the 15th Doctor, played by JLBWHO. Now, what I'm going to show you first is my initial reaction, because I did film an actual full reaction, which is up on my Patreon. It's available at the $5 tier and above if you'd like to see my full reaction to that. There's a lot of me being frustrated in it. And then right after that, I did film my initial reaction to it. We're going to play that first, and then I'm going to come back and talk about how my thoughts on it have changed. But I did want you guys to see my initial reaction right after watching it. And then after that, we'll pop back here, and I'll give you my current thoughts on it. Okay, just coming out of that episode. Ooh, gotta be honest, I didn't really like this one. This one didn't do much for me. I love the incidental music in this one. The incidental music was good. The performances were good. I will admit, the actual actors, I loved the Doctor. He doesn't have a lot to do, but when he's there, Shooty's great, especially right there at the end. He's phenomenal. Millie is good. The guest cast do a good job playing the characters they're supposed to play, making you not like them, which I think is the point. This episode just felt like a waste of time. What was the point? You know, some people said that about 73 yards, and I love 73 yards. I get the point of it, but this episode seems much more of a waste. I mean, you figure they're all going to die if those slugs things are everywhere. I think the interesting thing we have to remember about the girl who is kind of the protagonist of this episode, and most of the people on that planet, is they're not good people. They're not good people. I mean, we spend most of the episode thinking they're annoying, irksome, frustrating, tedious, and they make you want to reach through the screen and punch them because they're so inept and bratty and spoiled. And I get the satire of perhaps classism. Now, at first I thought maybe it was just satire in Gen Z, which, I mean, that's not hard to do. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of really sharp people from Gen Z, like people who watch this channel. And there's plenty of people from generations before that who are nitwits, to be fair. But I feel like Gen Z is the easiest one to kind of, later millennials and Gen Z are kind of the easiest ones to take puck shots at these days. Sometimes rightfully so, honestly, sometimes not. But studying it closer, it seems more like satire and classism, the rich class, the spoiled brats. And you really see that at the end, this kind of elitist attitude. You really get a feel for the problem with the main girl when she turns on the guy helping her, the guy she's kind of infatuated with. She's all googly-eyed for, the singer. When she turns on him, I figured maybe she was just trying to distract the bald and she was actually going to help him. Oh no, she just, thing smooth kills him. I was like, what? The one guy there who actually seemed like a good person and you might actually want to root for. And she just, zoop, and that fake smile she puts on when lying about him, she just lies so effortlessly. I mean, she would even make Troughton go, wow, that was convincing when it comes to lying, because we know Troughton can lie. How she tells her friends about how he went, and then she smiles for the Doctor. When she turns around to him, oh, he went back to rescue others, and I'm sure the Doctor's like, I did love the Doctor's frustration there and his reaction, how he just starts laughing. I love how he reacts differently than a lot of doctors to stressful stimuli. I just like that his reactions are different, very alien, because he's not human. He is alien. He's going to react in different ways. I don't think I've seen a doctor do that since Tom Baker, where Tom Baker would react in very non-human ways. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm with Ruby, though, when Ruby was like, I can't even. I'm right there with Ruby. I don't even feel like they deserve saving. They just... finding out the whole homeworld was gone and that it was the dot bubble things that did. I didn't expect it to be the computer, but I get it though. They listen to y'all talk all the time that I think they hate you. Very much mirroring stuff Black Mirror does. I see that now when people say that. I definitely don't get Macroterra or Paradise Towers or Happiness Patrol vibes, really. It feels a lot different. Much more inferior than those episodes, too. All three of those classic episodes are far better than this. I didn't really like this. The color palette with its bright colors really hurts my eyes. I mean, it's done like that purposely. I get that. The attitude of the teenagers. Again, I get that's the point. It's done like that on purpose, but I just find it annoying. The fact she can't walk without the dot. I'm sitting there going, this episode feels like it's longer than the Web Planet. If I had to rewatch an episode, I'd rather rewatch the Web Planet, all 6 parts, than go through this again. Now, I don't think it was an absolute dumpster fire. I think it's a pretty bad episode. It's probably my least favorite episode from the 15th Doctor's era. What's the point? It seems so pointless to me. And I get, it's kind of like The Sopranos, I guess, in a way. The Sopranos, people root for them. They have their characters. They don't like, a lot of the audience members don't like when something happens to one of the main characters, but people are missing the point. The people in The Sopranos are not good people. All of the main cast, for the most part, they're not good people. That is the point. They are bad people. So when they get their comeuppance, they kind of have it coming. That's kind of the point here. These are not good people. But the Doctor's trying to save them anyway, because he's the Doctor. That's what the Doctor does. I didn't realize it was going to end right there. When he's had that look on his face, he's about to go in the TARDIS, I thought he's about to do something. He's about to save them against their will. I'm the Doctor, and I save people. So when it just cued the music, went to the credits, I was like, okay, well, that was a waste of my time. This is an episode I probably need to watch a second time. This is an episode I have no desire to watch a second time. I'm just not one of those people that can watch an episode and then watch it again. I get some YouTubers will be like, I watched this episode 7 times in the past week. And I'm like, how do you do that? I cannot watch. I can't even watch City of Death, my favorite episode of all time, 7 times in a week. I can't sit here and rewatch an episode. So much less an episode like this, which I don't even understand why. What is the social commentary? Is it what I've already discussed? Because it's not telling me anything I don't already know. These are things I've already figured out for myself. I feel like this episode is just a huge waste of time. I didn't care about any of it. I found it tediously long. I mean, I get that it's not long, but it feels long. Waiting for her to turn her head when they're like, look to your right, look to your right. I'm not turning the bubble off. I'm sitting here going, or the bit when it's like, okay, you have to leave. I got to turn the bubble on. Every little thing. It is kind of sometimes like if I'm at work and I'm working with a younger person, to be fair. I literally have ran into some of these younger people that they do not understand basic common sense, and it drives me mad. I have people I have worked with in different, because I've worked a lot of blue collar jobs, retail, restaurant, managed a GameStop. I've done all sorts of stuff. Working in the restaurant business, I had coworkers who did not know how the alphabet works. Like literally, they get confused because we had racks that were done in alphabetical order, like A through H, I through Q, R through Z, and they could not figure out what went on what rack. You have something that starts with a P, and they put it between R and Z because they don't understand P comes before R. Actually, Q comes before R and P comes before Q, but they don't get that. Or you see someone stop, and it takes them a second to set it down, and you just know, you can see them running the alphabet through their head to get it. So it's like, take that bag to the red car. What? The red car. Huh? The red car. Which one is that? The one that's red. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It's that. I had that kind of frustration with this episode where I'm just sitting here going, God, these people are stupid. Oh. And my biggest pet peeve in the universe is just stupidity and lack of common sense. Like, it drives me insane having to deal with just stupid people. Like, people who aren't book smarts. I get. That's fine. Not everyone is book smart. I can deal with that. But people that don't have any common sense drives me nuts. So dealing with this episode was setting off all my alarm bells of just tediousness. And it took so long. I feel like this could have been a good 15-minute, 20-minute episode max. But I did enjoy the performances. I mean, the actors playing the annoying characters are doing exactly what they're supposed to. The actress playing the protagonist is very good at what she's doing. Props to her for that. And I love Shooty Gatwa as the Doctor. I like Millie as Ruby, but just the story seemed pointless. When you have this would have been better. I mean, I still wouldn't have liked it, but this would have been better as a filler episode in a 13 episode season. Like if this was a traditional 13 episode season, like we had, in the early to mid seasons of modern Doctor Who, this would be a little more forgivable. It'd still be a bad episode. I mean, it'd be up there with Fear Her and Love and Monsters, honestly. But what really hurts this is the fact this is an episode in an 8 episode season. It's such a small season to begin with only 8 episodes. To waste it on this, to me, it feels like such a waste of time. Oh, I don't even know where to begin. Or I don't even know what else to say. Just it kept trudging along, and all these little things happening, and the people involved just felt so ridiculously helpless as to what was going on in the world around them. Which, to be fair, when you're 18 or 19 years old, you really, a lot of people, not everyone, really is kind of clueless to what's going on around them. And I don't mean that to sound insulting or condescending, but I think most people, not everyone, but most people, when you reach 30 and then when you reach 40, you look back at when you were 18, there's at least some things you did where you're like, oh, I do that. Lord knows I was a bit of a prima donna when I was young. And there were times I look back, even stuff I was doing when I was 28, 29, 30, and going, oh, much less stuff when I was 18, 19, 20. And going, I'm getting off on a tangent. I didn't like this episode. Like, it was annoying me as I was going through it, but it's not until I finally get through all of it I realize how much of a big waste of time it was. But this is one of the worst episodes of Doctor Who I've seen. And again, it's not the cast's fault. I still like Shooty as the Doctor. I still like Millie as Ruby. They're doing fine. It's the story I have problems with. The execution of the story isn't bad. I mean, the actors are doing a good job. The special effects look good with the dot and bubble, the little slug things. The fact they move so slow, it can still get everybody. That's kind of funny. The incidental music's great. I love the incidental music. Murray Gold is knocking that out of the park. It's just the story, and it doesn't have the redeeming factor of Space Babies where there's enough in the execution going on where I like it. While I like the execution here, the story's so bad it doesn't save it. Like, this wishes it could live up to the Macroterra or Paradise Towers or Happiness Patrol. It does not come close to any of them. Those are all 3 phenomenally good classic Doctor Who stories. This just Jodie Whittaker has way better stories. She also has some worse stories, to be fair. Like, I'd rather watch this than Arachnids of the UK any day. And I'd rather watch this over Timeless Children any day. But there's a lot of Jodie Whittaker stories that are a lot better than what I'm seeing here. A lot of them. I mean, I'd rather watch this than Flux, but just because that's 6 hours of Flux versus this, and episodes 2, 4, maybe 5 of Flux are better than this. Episode 3 of Flux, Once Upon a Time, is considerably worse than this. So it's not the worst episode of Doctor Who ever. It is the worst 15th Doctor episode I've seen. And it's just really, really tragic in a season that is so short to begin with, to waste an episode on this, even if the special effects for it do look very good. I'm just going to stop there. Maybe I'll add some more to this later after I think on it some more. But highly disappointing, considering I have enjoyed the season a lot for the most part. Going into this episode, this is definitely the bump in the road that makes me go, ooh. So, my thoughts on it have kind of changed. I still don't really care for the episode, but I like some of the stuff the episode is doing. I still love the performances. Shooty Gatwa, Millie Gibson, and the guest cast are all putting in good performances. I love Shooty Gatwa's performance at the end of this episode. I do love that ending scene. It's really good, and Shooty Gatwa puts in such a performance there. You can see the frustration on his face that he's not able to save these people. And Millie Gibson right there, how she just is at a loss for words and doesn't know what to say. I like that. And then even the people who live there who are so unlikable, the actors performing that pull it off effortlessly. And then I also like the guy playing the singer. I forget his name, Brandon or whatever his name is. The actor playing him, like when he sees that the home world is all dead and the population is zero, that look on his face when he's just is very good. I was very impressed with that. I love the themes of the episode. It does a really good job poking fun at so many different things. It really is good satire. It is, of course, satiring Gen Z to a degree, rich, spoiled brats to a degree, definitely the upper elite. And then just in general, the way it approaches showing off the dark sides, well, that's really what they are, of different forms of elitism. Elitism, classism, racism are all on, it's satiring all of them and showing how those are all bad in a really impressive, subtle way. The undertones throughout this episode that you might not pick up on that I think would be far more apparent on a rewatch. It's done very well here. Because racism and classism, most isms are really all just a form of elitism. They're all like subsections of elitism, feeling like you're better than someone else because of some silly thing like gender or race or social status or wealth. It does a really good job tackling those issues. Probably the best I have ever seen Doctor Who do since The Mutants. The Mutants, of course, also does a really good job of satiring and poking fun at classism, elitism, and racism. If you're not familiar with The Mutants, it's a third Doctor story from season 9 of classic Doctor Who. Not the most well-regarded story, but one, I think it's underrated, and two, it does tackle those themes very well. And I feel like this story is kind of the same way. It's not, while it doesn't do a lot for me on a lot of levels, there are some things in it I very much enjoy, and how it tackles those themes is very well done, especially because it never feels lecturing. One of the things I accuse the Whittaker era so much of, and I think a lot of people do and take issue with, is how sometimes the politics in them can be handled in a way that some people might find pretentious or condescending, and that never happens here. This era has been really good about not doing that, actually. I never feel like I'm being talked down to. It is done in such a clever way to get its point across that it lands solidly with those points it's trying to make about elitism. And I definitely commend the episode for that. And I like the fact that the episode is almost like a twist on Blink, because this is a story that reminds me of Blink in a way, a Dr. Light episode where the Doctor is there helping, but not much. Now, he's there a little more helping in this one than he is in Blink, but we're again stuck with this female and protagonist, or who we think is the protagonist, like in Blink, and we're trying to help her and her friends survive from creatures trying to kill her, similar to what's going on in Blink. But I like how the ending is so different than Blink, where Sally Sparrow is a good character, and we are helping her survive, and she does thwart the enemy, and the Doctor does save the day. Here, it's different. We find out that this character, who already comes off as unlikable, in an annoying, childish brat sort of way, is truly an unlikable, very unlikable person. And the Doctor can't save them. They are so committed to their way of thinking that they will not let the Doctor save them because they live in their own bubble. I really like Dot and Bubble because if you think about it, it is very much saying this is a group of people who live in their own bubble and are totally oblivious to the world around them. That is really, I feel like, what it's getting at, is you have an entire group of people. And I think, some people would say this is definitely mocking Gen Z, which I'm not saying it's not. But before Gen Z, to be honest, people said the exact same thing about the millennials. Oh, the millennials. So it's definitely whatever generation you want to associate this with. This group of people living in their own bubble, totally oblivious to the outside world. I personally think this applies to most people at a certain age, when you're 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And you think you know more than you do. And that's not to say there aren't intelligent 18, 19-year-olds. There are. I know people who are 18 who are sharp tacks. I know people who are 50 who are dumb as rocks. But I do understand, I think most people, when they're 30 or 40, look back at when they're 18 and go, at some point, with some of the stuff you did. So I do think there is that age that everyone, every generation, where you don't quite get how the real world works yet. It's like you're legally an adult, but you're not really an adult. I'm sure most of you, I think, can understand the point I'm making there. This episode is kind of, I think, poking fun at that. The performances are very good. The actress playing, Callie, I think is her name, playing the main character, Lindy or whatever, is very, very good. She pulls off what she's doing. But I found her unlikable almost immediately. Now, part of this is simply my issue I have with blondes. I have this weird aversion to blonde women. Not just in normal everyday conversation, but like even being friends with, dating. Not dating blondes is literally my #1 rule of dating. And not dating Reagans, because that's the name of the girl from The Exorcist. And that's just asking for trouble. So immediately when I saw that blonde hair, much like with Galaxy 4, when I immediately suspected the Dravins, immediately, I was like, Something about her eyes, too. I don't know why. I feel like those green eyes are calculated to be annoying. I know that doesn't make sense. I have similar color eyes myself, to be honest. But something about the way they have her made up makes her come across as more annoying. It's nothing against Callie. She looks very nice. But just the way they did her with the hair and the eyes, it's just something about that I feel like adds to the irksome factor. The way she acts is just annoying. And it presses my buttons in a wrong way because these kind of people are the kind of people who annoy me. One of my pet peeves is just a lack of common sense. I cannot deal with a lack of common sense. It just drives me crazy. To give an example, I used to work at a car rental company, and the dumbest question I think I've ever been asked in my life was a lady wanted to know why she had to have a driver's license to rent a car. And then I had another lady, I had to explain to her why she couldn't rent a car because her license was expired. Her response, but it's got my picture on it. Yes, ma'am, I believe it's your license, but you can't legally drive. I cannot deal with those people. So when I'm watching her throughout this episode, and it's taking her what seems like 10 minutes to turn her head.
Bubble down, dot off.
Oh, just look, lady. There's no reason to look. It drives me bonkers. I want the story to pick up. When she's trying to walk, when she's sitting there doing the bit when she's walking, when the singer guy's having to talk her through it, I'm sitting there going, let's get a move on, people. The web planet is paced better than this. Oh my God. Like the easiest things in the world to do are struggling. Forward. Oh, yeah. So that part's always going to annoy me. I think on rewatch, I might enjoy this a little more, but some of the execution of the story is always going to hold it back. The oversaturated colors annoy the crap out of my eyes. And I get that's done on purpose. With the colors looking like that, that is done on purpose. I get that. The characters being unlikable is done on purpose. I get that. Just because it's done on purpose doesn't give it a pass that it doesn't annoy me. It annoys me. Now, I think if I had read this as a novelization, I would like it better because I would be, of course, creating a visual novel of it in my head in a way that I preferred. I really think reading this, I would enjoy it more. Maybe not now, because if I was reading it, I'd probably just be picturing the episode in my head, which would annoy me. But if I had read it initially, I think I'd like it better because the actual story is fine. The points it's making are fine. The actual story doesn't do much for me. It's fine. It's really hard for me to pin down how I feel about the story. Just, it drags too much. At 43 minutes, it still feels like it's dragging. I feel like I could watch Ambassadors of Death without feeling slowed down. But even before my latest rewatch of Ambassadors of Death, which I enjoyed a lot more, back when I used to think Ambassadors needed to be a 4-parter, it still drug less than this. I could watch Ambassadors in one sitting easier than I could rewatch this. But I love the incidental music too. I mentioned that in the initial review. I love the incidental music, especially right there at the end. Having rewatched that last scene, I did rewatch that final scene. the incidental music there and throughout the whole episode is phenomenal. Right there at the end, it kind of actually reminds me of some of the music from 1986's The Fly. Something about some of the heavy things being done there with the music makes me think of The Fly, which I like that connection because I love The Fly. And just that look on Shooty's face as he's going in the TARDIS. I was kind of surprised the episode cut off there. But it deals with its themes well. Now, I still firmly believe that even if the Doctor had been one of the other Doctors, a white Doctor, I still think they would have refused to go with him. Because I don't think it's all just about his race. I think it's about the fact he's not one of them. He's a lower social status. He's not part of their little group. I still think they wouldn't have gone with him. Because I really feel like a lot of this is inferred. Like the racism. Is it there or isn't it there? I think it's there. But initially on Original Watch, I didn't see it. It was only listening to some other people talk about it, reading some other comments on it, and then paying attention to what's actually happening. I was like, you know what? At first I was like, well, I think that's one of those things. If you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't. But more and more, I'm like, I see it. I get it. The voodoo comment. I get it. The fact she blocked him so quickly at the beginning of the episode, whereas Rose, she was a little more tolerant with. And I think that Ruby caught on to it too, especially with Ruby having been raised by a black family. She probably recognized that. And that's why after the Doctor got blocked so quickly, she jumped in and started, well, I know kind of how she thinks being that generation, laying into it. Oh, that's a nice top, kind of laying into her vanity. And then it also makes sense, the reaction when Lindy realized the Doctor and Ruby were in the same room. She said, y'all are in the room together. No, we're not. Yes, you are. And when the Doctor popped over, she was kind of, oh, that's just, that explains that reaction as well with race being involved. And then, of course, the bit at the end. So it's little things that I think on rewatch are going to catch the little subtle things. And that's executed very well. But just at the end of the day, this isn't one I want to go back and rewatch anytime soon. While I can appreciate the points it's making and it makes them well, there are still just aspects of the execution of the story, parts where it drags. Again, it doesn't need to take her that long to go, oh, look, there's a thing there. Or the whole bit with her walking, it feels like it's stretched a little too far. I get it's satire, and the whole point of satire is stretching something to a ridiculous point. But Russell T. Davies is not Robert Holmes. This is not The Sunmakers, which is The Sunmakers fantastic. To be fair, no one else is Robert Holmes either. And I don't think this pulls off... It pulls off its message just as good as The Sunmakers. It does not pull off executing the story itself, especially on screen, as well as Robert Holmes and whoever directed The Sunmakers does. So while I can like what it's doing, and I like the performances, I like the music, at the end of the day, it just doesn't land for me. It's still probably my least favorite story. I don't think it's utter trite like I did when I first watched it. And it's definitely not the worst Doctor Who episode out there. But it's probably my least favorite of the season, just because the execution of the story, I mean, the story itself is, but the execution of the story and it dragging in places just doesn't quite work for me. So I want to know what you think of Dot and Bubble. Comment down below and let me know. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. The full unedited reaction to this episode is available on my Patreon at the $5 tier and above. That is true for all of the other episodes this season. The unrated, the unedited full reactions to those videos with picture-in-picture is also available on my Patreon if you would like to see those as well. I want to give a shout out to some of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Finn Perkins, and Stephen Crane. I appreciate their support as I do the support of all of my patrons. It's very much appreciated. I also have a P.O. box down there if there's anything you'd like to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. A link to my Amazon UK wish list is also down there. And most importantly, thank you for watching.